Coming up on WMBD News at noon, severe flooding is hitting parts of central Illinois, and we'll show you what some communities are now up against. Also, we're learning the state of Peoria Public Schools. The superintendent shares her plans for the district. And from a family recipe to a business deal, hear how one Peoria woman is making it happen, all in this week's Open for Business. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shelbey Roberts. New this afternoon, officials in Livingston County have identified the driver they say was burned beyond recognition in a Monday car crash. This is 52-year-old Michael Brahman. He's from Forest, Illinois. He's been identified by the county coroner as the victim in that crash. Monday, the car hit a guardrail and burned at the intersection of 3225 East and 1000 North Road in Charlotte Township. That's just north of Chatsworth. Police say a passerby noticed burnt car remains and called officials. Investigators did use dental and surgical records to identify Brahman. In other news, Peoria Public Works is making preparations as the Illinois River rises. Starting today, crews will begin sandbagging at the River Station building. Several parking lots along the riverfront will be closed at various points of the day. Sections of Water Street could also be closed. Work could continue throughout the weekend, and people are being asked to avoid that area. The river is expected to crest at more than 27 feet on Monday morning. That's just half a foot shy of a major flood stage. And latest flood projections for North Utica have the Illinois River cresting early tomorrow morning. With more precipitation on the way, local leaders are asking those living in those low-lying areas to prepare to evacuate in the event that things get worse than they're expected to be. WMBD's Eugene Daniels shares how some are now responding.
I have a prayer.
The Illinois River in North Utica is expected to reach its third highest crest in the village's history.
I've been exposed to incipient flooding here since 1980, and I am at the lowest elevation of any business or residence here. You know, once I crest, we know we're all done. Last time we got away with 30.4 feet.
In an effort to keep people safe, leaders are asking those who live along the river to consider and be prepared to evacuate their homes.
Currently, we are leaving it up to each individual resident and business if they want to begin the evacuation process now.
Leaders are offering up North Utica Township Hall as a place to stay for those who need it.
We just want to make sure people are informed and that they're ready in case an event does happen. Right now, they have a projection that's would cause some issues around town.
I would guess at 30.8. I'm hoping not much more than that.
As the water trickles downstream, neighbors are bracing for the impact. Many have seen flooding before, but say it never gets easier to leave their belongings behind.
I can take 31 and I can live with that, but anything more than that is going to be a mop-up, and I'm going to have to hose everything down and sanitize everything. But I'm prepared to take 15 inches of water safely.
Village staff and the board will meet twice a day to assess the situation. They will use the color red system to keep neighbors informed.
That was Eugene Daniel reporting. Now, drivers out on the wet roads are also facing some difficulties. Yesterday morning, the Tazewell County Sheriff's Department was called into action when they heard drivers were having problems with flooded roadways. One of their own deputies was actually swept away, but he is safe, though. Officials want you to remember to turn around, don't drown. It's an important saying. If you see water over the roads, don't try to drive through them. Here's a traffic alert for drivers. The eastbound lanes of Interstate 74 near Kickapoo have now been reopened. This comes after a crash near mile marker 82 happened earlier this morning, and that created some closures and a very heavy first responder presence. Also, if you're planning to use I-74 near Morton later on tonight, be prepared for some delays. IDOT plans to close a section of the eastbound lanes starting at 10 p.m. Crews are going to be removing a semi-trailer that overturned Wednesday night. Detours will be marked during that closure. Well, Peoria Public Schools is looking to make some changes to the future of education. Superintendent Dr. Sharon Karat shared her vision during the State of the Schools address yesterday. Karat says her plan is to explore a personalized, not standardized approach, to prepare students for the industrial age while in an innovation era. Many organizations and businesses already partner in outreach programs to prepare those children for life after high school. Dr. Karat says the opportunities are endless as students are exposed to possible interests and careers. Also, a story that's making us Central Illinois proud. 3 Central Illinois high schools are among the top 100 out of the entire state. That's according to the U.S. News and World Report survey. Out of 665 public schools, Morton, Richwoods, and Dunlap all made that list. Each were highlighted for their AP participation and advanced coursework. All 3 also had high graduation rates. 4 new council members have been sworn into Bloomington City Council. Last night, Julie Emig, Jen Carrillo, Jeff Crabill, and Donna Bolin were sworn into by the city clerk. Carrillo is the first Latina council member for the city. She defeated the 20-year incumbent Karen Schmidt during the April election. The 3 other new additions filled seats held by members who chose not to run. Closing arguments in the Kirk Zimmerman murder trial are happening as we speak. Zimmerman is charged with the 2014 shooting death of his ex-wife Pamela. The prosecution is wrapping up now, and the defense is expected to give their remarks afterwards. In the courtroom yesterday, the defense team rested their case after calling into question some evidence presented by the state. Kirk Zimmerman's lawyers say the gunshot residue found on his gear shift could have gotten there by the Bloomington police officer who was inspecting the car. They say that officer had a gun on his hip and at the time was at the crime scene. The detective that collected the samples dismissed contamination theories, saying he changed gloves and washed his hands. Yesterday, a gunshot residue expert said the detective could have transferred the gunshot residue.
Should that person go into the car?
Well, no one, whether that person, no one that is contaminated or possibly contaminated with gunshot residue should touch or get involved in an environment where they're trying to demonstrate that gunshot residue was there before that person ever got there.
The detective who searched Kirk's car did so alone. In other news, in the courtroom still, the case against a woman accused of stealing thousands of dollars from the former U.S. Cellular Coliseum has been dropped. According to the Pantograph, Kelly Klein, the woman on your screen, was the assistant manager of finance for Central Illinois Arena Management. Authorities accused her of laundering money over the course of about 10 years. In all, 5 CIAM officials were arrested in 2015, accused of overbilling for supplies and utilities, as well as disguising expenses. The state's attorney says the charges could be refiled. Governor J.B. Pritzker's progressive income tax plan is one step closer to going to voters. Yesterday afternoon, it passed the Senate along party lines. 3/5 of the House have to approve that plan before the question can appear on voters' 2020 ballots. People would then choose whether to keep the flat tax at 4.95% or join 35 other states with higher rates for higher earners. Pritzker says the graduated income tax structure would generate $3.4 billion in new revenue. And the budget fight over higher education funding heated up in dueling state house news conferences yesterday. Republicans highlighted how much Illinois already gives state schools compared to the national average. Democrats and university officials, on the other hand, called on the governor to give higher ed more than the proposed 5% increase in this year's budget. House Democrats called for vague revenue enhancements or tax increases, but there were no specifics on how much extra money they need or where it would come from. That budget deadline is at the end of this month. Coming up, new warnings about some commonly used sleep aids. We've got that story and the rest of your health headlines still ahead.